I want all the people who are interested in what it is I'm sharing with them, I want them to learn how to think philosophically and metaphysically. We're not all going to be a Socrates or a Plato. We don't have to be. But you have to learn. There's a way of seeing and thinking about what it means to exist that you need to cultivate. We need to cultivate it. And it's something you can do, but it's not, for most people, it's just not their habit. It's just not, wow, ooh, really. Well, they say, well, I didn't take philosophy in college. How am I supposed to do it now? So the question is, are you curious? Are you a curious person about? Because you see, the thing is, if you're going to cultivate this capacity for deep inquiry, deep introspection, deep contemplation, you have to be a very heroic thinker, because the minute you enter onto this kind of journey of philosophical and metaphysical inquiry and insight, you immediately find yourself in a superior, forgive me for saying this, but I think you can take it, a superior position to, probably 4/5 of the human, or more, 5/6, 7/8 of humanity, because most human beings operate within very rigid and fixed belief systems that give them a sense of comfort and security, right? Which dogmatic and rigid thinking doesn't only relate to political issues, and political philosophy, but it also relates, as we all know, to religion and metaphysics, right? So if you accept a particular political view or position that you feel is the one and only right one, you'll feel safe and secure in the fact that you know what the right way is, and the other side, or the other sides, are wrong, and then you experience a sense of self-confidence. But this also relates to, as you all know, to often people who hold traditional religious perspectives, and but this also relates to, even to more sophisticated spiritual and metaphysical perspectives. But the thing is, when you enter into this more complex and nuanced capacity for thinking and for considering reality, you have to face a scary truth, which is that you're never going to be able to figure it all out. And most human beings just are not ready for that one. They want to know what it is so they can feel a sense of comfort and a sense of safety and a sense of, security, right? And that's the majority of human beings are more or less at that point in their level of personal development and cultural development. And I know that's kind of a gross generalization, but I don't really think it's that far from the truth. But when you're going to enter into this level of inquiry, you have to. There's a shocking recognition of the fact that heroic men and women throughout history have been on this journey, and nobody's figured it all out. There have been great thinkers and great realizers that have contributed big pieces of the they've contributed big pieces of the puzzle. They've really added their own insights, which are always built on the insights of those who have come before them, which are always insights that are built on those who came before them, and they're always insights built upon those who have come before them. They add whatever some insight they've had that's adding to it. So they're actually they're contributing to the evolution of human knowledge about reality. But you realize nobody's figured everything out, and it's not possible to do that. And so, at an existential level, that requires an enormous degree of spiritual maturity to realize that that understanding what it means to exist, is an ongoing process. And that requires an incredible level of maturity, because you have to be able to bear the insecurity of knowing that you're never going to be able to figure it all out. You're never going to do it. You're not going to ever be able to figure it out. No one's ever going to be able to figure it all out. In the traditional metaphysical view is that if you have a great realizer like a Gautama Buddha or a Jesus Christ, they figured it all out. And the thing is, these were all individuals, and there are many, many others who saw a lot. Remember, we're going from here to here. So these are individuals who saw and knew and understood a lot more about what it means to exist than most people, but they certainly hadn't figured it all out. But in order to develop spiritual self-confidence, right, you don't need to figure it all out. Isn't that interesting? So what I'm speaking about here, of getting to that point in your own evolution as an individual where it becomes absolutely important for you to be able to come to terms with what it means to exist in a very deep and profound way, is really a big deal. And I can help you with this, but this is really something that you all need to develop within yourself. There are people who think Andrew's incredible evolutionary enlightenment is a perfect teaching. And they're convinced that it's the case. Now, they may be right, they may be wrong, but they haven't made it their own. They simply have accepted that based on their experience, they think it's fabulous and fantastic and maybe even perfect, whatever that means. But unless, because they maybe spent time with me, they maybe came on some retreats or many retreats, and I convinced them. But they haven't really struggled with the metaphysical and existential questions that the teaching is a response to themselves. Right? Unless you struggle as an individual, unless you're willing to struggle with the metaphysical, philosophical, and existential questions that this teaching is a response to yourself, unless you struggle with those questions yourself, then even a teaching like this becomes something that you use as a source of solace, source of confidence. You become a true believer. You see, you can be a true believer if you're a Christian, or you're a Jew, or a Buddhist, or a follower of mine, or of evolutionary enlightenment. And true believers are powerful because they really are convinced that something's true, right? Right? But there's a difference between being a true believer and making and it's only if you struggle with these existential challenges and are struggling with them ongoingly, really, because there's always going to be more to figure out. There's always more to understand. There's always more to come to terms with. It's endless, right? The quest for knowledge is endless. So unless questions, that this teaching is an answer for, unless they're your questions, and unless you feel they're really important questions and are willing to struggle with them, you're only going to be able to get that far. You follow? Now, the good side of it is, of course, when you become a philosophically and metaphysically curious person, and philosophically and metaphysically hungry person, life becomes a very exciting process of perpetual insight and discovery. It's perpetual. So you're having these aha moments. It's not like once every 10 years. It's like every week, a couple times a week, maybe once every day. Wow, ooh, ooh, really, ooh, yes. I mean it. If you're busy with this all the time, and it's something that you're actually very personally connected to, how important it is to be on the very edge, to be on your own edge in relationship to your quest for knowledge and understanding, it won't happen. But you see, if you're on your edge all the time in relationship to this quest for knowing, quest for knowledge, then you're going to be having breakthroughs regularly.